So, you want to get into local AI, but you don't want to take out a second mortgage to do it, right? Well, that's what we're digging into today. We're going to see if you can get some serious AI power on a budget by putting two absolute legends from the used market head to head. Here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about the whole AI on a budget idea. Then we'll introduce our two contenders, dive deep into a spec showdown, and see how they actually perform in the real world. After that, we'll put them in context with today's GPUs and, finally, give you the final verdict. All right, let's just get right to it. The world of local AI can feel super exclusive, with the latest graphics cards costing an arm and a leg. But what if there's a smarter way to get in the game? And that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If you're looking to run models like Stable Diffusion or mess around with language models on your own machine, you might not need to spend thousands. The secret might just be hiding in plain sight on the used market. Which brings us to these two beasts, the Turing Titans. We're talking about the RTX 2080 Super and its bigger, beefier sibling, the RTX 2080 Ti. These cards come from NVIDIA's 20 series, which was a massive leap forward for AI on consumer hardware. Now, to really get why these older cards are still in the conversation, you have to understand their architecture. Turing was an absolute game changer. It was the first time NVIDIA baked hardware specifically for AI, called tensor cores, right into a consumer graphics card. And what's the magic behind these things? Tensor cores. You can think of them as specialized little brainiacs inside the GPU. Their one and only job is to just crush the exact type of math that powers neural networks. Having these makes an unbelievable difference for AI stuff. Okay, so we know why they're still relevant. Now let's pit them against each other and see how they stack up on paper. It is time for the specs showdown. First up, and honestly, this is the big one for AI, VRAM, or video memory. This chart says it all. The 2080 Ti packs 11 gigabytes, while the Super has 8. And trust me, that extra 3 gigs is a massive deal. It literally determines how big and complex the AI models are that you can even load. But the 2080 Ti's lead doesn't stop with VRAM. Nope. It's ahead pretty much across the board. It's got way more CUDA cores for general processing and a much higher memory bandwidth, which means it can shovel data to those cores a whole lot faster. Let's look at the full breakdown. When you see the full table, the picture gets even clearer. The 2080 Ti has over 40% more of those crucial tensor cores, 544 versus 384. And that wider memory bus is what gives it that awesome bandwidth. What's really interesting, though, is that they both pull about the same amount of power, 250 watts. The Ti is just packing a lot more performance into that same power budget. And this isn't just about brute force. NVIDIA designed these things with AI in mind from the get-go. This quote basically explains that the tensor cores can work with different levels of math precision. In simple terms, this lets you run AI models more efficiently, which is perfect for speeding things up. Okay, enough with the spec sheets. Numbers on a page are one thing. But how do these cards actually feel when you're generating images or chatting with a local language model? Let's talk about the real world. So here's the bottom line. That extra VRAM on the 2080 Ti means you can just do more. For image generation, it could be the difference between easily creating a high-res image versus constantly running into memory Rs. For language models, it means you can run bigger, smarter ones. The 8 gigs on the Super is definitely capable, don't get me wrong, but you'll be making compromises. And just to be crystal clear, neither of these is going to train GPT-5 from scratch, okay? They're for running and fine-tuning, not building huge models from the ground up. Now, before we pick a winner, we need a quick reality check. These cards are amazing for the price, but technology waits for no one. Let's see where they fit in the grand scheme of things today. This timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Since Turing came out in 2018, we've had Ampere in the 30 series and Ada Lovelace in the 40 series. And with each new generation, we got faster, smarter tensor cores and a bunch of other cool improvements. So what do you get with newer cards? Well, they support more advanced data formats that are super useful for modern AI, they're way more power efficient, and they often come with a ton more VRAM. That's the trade-off you're making when you go for a budget-friendly Turing card. So, we've looked at the history, we've crunched the numbers, and we've put it all in context. It's time to bring it all home. Which one of these GPUs is the right choice for your budget AI build? It really just boils down to this. The RTX 2080 Ti is the undisputed performance champ here. If you can find one at a good price and you want that extra VRAM for bigger projects, it is the one to get, period. But if you find a 2080 Super for a steal and you know your projects can live within that 8 GB limit, it is still a fantastic way to get your foot in the door.
But if we have to plant a flag and declare one winner for the budget AI builder, it has to be the RTX 2080 Ti. In the world of AI, VRAM is king, and that extra 11 gigabytes gives you a level of freedom and future-proofing that the 8 GB Super just can't compete with.
Of course, the used market is always changing, and prices can swing wildly. For a much more detailed breakdown with benchmarks and latest pricing info, you should absolutely read the full article that this explainer is based on. You can find it over at bestgpusforai.com. We've dropped a link right in the description for you. So that brings us to the final question, and this one's for you. Now that you know the score, the raw power and crucial VRAM of the T versus the potential bargain of the Super, which one of these powerhouses is going to be the heart of your new AI rig?